So next up, learn how big data enables operations teams to successfully target audiences across platforms with examples from the most publicized campaign in our country's history, the 2012 presidential election. Please join me in welcoming Elaine Harvey, Vice President, Software Engineer at Resonate, and Joe Lichtenberg, Vice President, Edge Computing at Mirror Image Internet. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right.
Hi, I'm Joe Lichtenberg with Mirror Image,
And I'm Elaine Harvey with Resonate.
and we're really happy to be here today to talk to you about political campaigns and how political campaigns now are very much like high-speed brand campaigns, and how political candidates are now using big data in really sophisticated ways to help them gain an edge in their campaigns. First, a brief introduction to Resonate.
Resonate is a company that allows political candidates, advocacy groups, and brands to target their customers directly via their values, beliefs, and opinions, and not proxied through other things like demographics, but directly by those properties. We were very involved in the recent campaign cycle. We were running 117 independent campaigns for different candidates and ballot initiatives during the cycle.
And a brief introduction to Mirror Image. Mirror Image is a company that's been in business for the past 15 years, and we offer a special kind of real-time cloud infrastructure as a service that's optimized for executing real-time advertising logic with speed and scale worldwide. Plus, we have some special sauce that makes it pretty easy and straightforward to do very custom things on our network. First, what we'd like to do is take you through a bit of the who, the what, and the why of political campaigns, and then we'll get into the nuts and bolts of exactly what Resonate and Mirror Image do and exactly how we do it.
Before I start talking about how a political candidate is like a brand, I want to talk a little bit about what makes a brand unique. At its heart, a brand is not trying to get you to click on an ad and buy something online. A brand is trying to sell you an idea. They want to translate the brand's values to the customer, and they do want to initiate an action, but usually that action is offline and very much delayed from the point of impression. To do this, a brand really needs to understand who their customer is, and they need to make sure that they are creating a message that resonates, and then they need to make sure the message reaches that customer. Now, they need to understand the values not only of the brand itself, what does the brand stand for, what does it mean, but the values of the customer and how those values are shared. Because shared values is the primary way for a brand to create a relationship with its customer, to motivate its customer. I'm going to use an example here of Tide detergent, where they've created 3 values groupings for the customers of their detergent. And there is the luxury self-image grouping, there's a family trust safety grouping, and there's a grouping around activity and ease of use. And in this case, Tide has created 3 very different sets of messages around the values of these customers. Now I'm going to talk about why a political candidate is like a brand. At its heart, a political candidate is also trying to sell an idea. A political candidate is not trying to get the customer to click and buy something online. They're trying to gain trust and understanding from the voter. And of course, like a brand, they do want to motivate an action, but that action is very much offline and very much delayed. It's to vote. It's important when a political candidate is speaking to its customer that they speak to what the customer really cares about. Grouping people into 2 groups is not enough. You can't say conservative and liberal, and all conservatives believe one thing, all liberals believe another. It's simply not true. A lot of conservatives care a lot about the environment, and a lot of liberals really are concerned about government spending. And a swing voter is really where the election is won. And swing voters in particular can't be demographically sliced like that. You really need to understand what they care about. Like a brand, of course, they need to create a message that resonates with what the customer cares about, and they need to make sure that message reaches the customer. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about what's different about a political campaign over a brand campaign. And one of those things is speed. Now, a lot of campaigns are on tight deadlines, but a political candidate particularly usually only has weeks or months to establish their name. Looking back at 2008, Barack Obama in 6 months went from being a completely or largely unknown senator from Illinois to being the President of the United States. And if that's not a high-speed brand story, I don't know what is. Agility is another major factor. So political candidates need to respond rapidly to events occurring outside of themselves. There's a whole host of external events that a political candidate has to respond to, and very rapidly. When I was originally preparing these slides back in October, I was going to talk to you about the Deepwater Horizon oil spill and how there were dramatic shifts in the population's opinions around deepwater drilling. Or I was going to talk to you about the Fukushima nuclear disaster in 2011 and how we observed very substantial shifts towards people opposing nuclear energy. And politicians had to respond to this within hours or days. But then along came Sandy. And we all got to see how Obama's response to Sandy changed the political landscape.
I would say that we were all struck by how quickly the political conversation shifted. First, after that first debate, if you all remember, and then right after Sandy, when left and right started to work together to actually get things done, those events had a huge impact on the elections, and I think those changes literally happened overnight.
We know we need to move fast. We know we need to adjust to external events, and most importantly, we know we need to speak to people along what they care about, their beliefs, their values. But the question is, of course, how is it done? So how does Resonate allow its customers to target and gain insight around people directly against their values and beliefs and opinions, and not proxied through demographics or behavioral assumptions or any other number of ways that you could target them? At its core, Resonate does massively large-scale, continuous market research. We take this information and our platform uses it as a way to illustrate the motivations that make people make the kind of decisions that they do, and to understand how opinions are shifting over time. We combine this unique data set with extremely large-scale data, so roughly 250 terabytes of data, which we have large-scale machine learning operating across in order to expand this understanding to the total internet. So it's a big data talk, so I kind of have to throw big data numbers at you. We do have a 110 node Hadoop cluster that is running a machine learning algorithm that does literally have 300 million decision nodes required to illustrate the full set of understanding around one individual. So very large scale machine learning. And part of this is we have to take incoming data, which are behavioral observations, multiple data sources streaming in continually and being combined with this unique data at this very large scale. And when we initially started to build our platform some time back, we looked at a number of different providers to provide that kind of edge knowledge. And we looked at a number of DMPs as ways of bringing our data in and handling it. And the conclusion we came to was what we were doing was very different, really, from what anybody else was doing, and therefore required a lot of custom logic.
So this is a really good place to talk about how Mirror Image works with Resonate. We partner with Resonate to handle different parts of their architecture, and we're a pretty integral part of their service. So the first thing that we do is we act as their data collection platform. So they need to collect very granular online data to feed their back-end analytics system. So part of the requirement was that they needed to capture very large amounts, large quantities of really custom, unique kinds of data from online sources on a continuous basis. And they needed very low latency, so very high performance, very low response times, regardless of where each visitor or request was located on the ground. And so the way that we're able to do that is we run these very large data centers throughout the world. They're located throughout North America, South America, Europe, and Asia, so that there's always a large data center that's running Resonate-specific application logic that's located on the ground near each request. So it allows us to intercept each request and process it locally close to each browser or device, regardless of where it's coming from. And a couple of more reasons why Resonate told us that they liked us and they chose to work with us. One is that we're tech stack or infrastructure agnostic, which means that basically we play nice in the sandbox and we integrated with all of the products and services and frameworks like Hadoop that they were already working with. And the other is that we don't keep any of the data that we collect. So We collect data on Resonate's behalf, on our customers' behalf. We make it available to them, and then we delete it completely from our servers. So we don't read the data, we don't sniff the data, we don't sell the data, we're not in the data business. So for Resonate, and as it turns out for all of the companies that we work with, data leakage is a big concern, and so the fact that we completely delete the data from our servers and we never use it was a big deal.
Yeah, data ownership is definitely very important to us. To take all of this knowledge, this learning that we've had over time from the incoming data feeds, the unique information that we collect, all of this becomes much more interesting when you can do something with it. So there needs to be the ability to take a learning or knowledge about what drives a human to do what they do and take action. And that action can be choosing to serve them certain ads or redirecting them to certain places. And in order to do that, we need to push our decisioning to the edge.
Resonate's custom logic has to execute in real time in all locations worldwide, right? And so that's what we do, right? I mean, that's right in the sweet spot of what we do. And the way that we do it is kind of unique, and that's part of what makes up our special sauce. So we have built out lots of these very configurable services that are running on our network that are like lots of different building blocks for executing different pieces of real-time advertising logic. And so, you know, the value is that it makes it pretty fast and easy and straightforward to implement new application logic on our network without having to re-engineer every new application or use case from scratch.
This type of agility is critical to us. We are continuing to update our logic and our models as we see the landscape changing. That's a critical functionality, and we needed a partner that could help support that.
The low latency aspect of the service turns out to be really important for a couple of reasons. One is that our customers can't afford to slow down their end users.
And of course, we're part of an ecosystem, so our partners are relying on us to respond very quickly and to always be there.
We also find that Resonate, pretty much like every company that we work with in display and mobile, is looking to avoid doing their own internal server build-outs wherever they can. You know, it's just not their core competency. There's opportunity cost associated with doing it. Our customers tend to be really sophisticated data scientists and really sophisticated marketers. They're not server experts, and they don't want to be. That's what we do.
This gives us the opportunity to focus where our core expertise is, which is around understanding values and beliefs and doing the machine learning that it takes to expand that. We'd like to conclude by summarizing and saying that we now know that political campaigns are really high-speed brand campaigns, and that they require specialized understanding of the customer in order to communicate the correct message to the customer. We know that big data is a part of this, both on the front end, where we're collecting lots of data, in the middle, where we're taking this data and turning it into understanding, and as we push it out to the edge in order to take action.
Big data really is everywhere. You know, we're pretty involved in display and mobile, and you know, we see it all over that landscape. So agencies and trade desks want to do more with the data stores. Publishers want to do more with their first-party data, you know, which is a treasure to them. DSPs and the SSPs have these really sophisticated machine learning algorithms that get smarter over time with the more data that they see. But I would say now that we see how politicians are using big data in their campaigns, it's safe to say that it really is everywhere.
And as I like to say, it's not how big your data is, it's how you use it. It's truly important. So thank you everyone for your attention, and I hope this has generated some thoughts for you and your company.
Thank you very much.